What's up, YouTube? It's your boy JB, and we are here today with the review for The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is season 2, episode number 8, A Wolf Pack of Secrets. So we are finally picking up. Next week is the week we've been waiting for with Jen. They waited to episode 9. I figured they would. I really figured that they would wait to probably like the halfway point of the season and then go. But this episode was actually a good one because I got a lot of shit to say about Lisa. Lisa is so conniving and manipulative. But before we get into the review, if you guys are watching this video or any other video on the channel and are not subscribed to the channel yet, I need you guys to do me a big favor and stop taking me out on this date. Hit that subscribe button, the like button, notifications turned on, and share the video. And with that out the way, without further ado, let's discuss The Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, shall we? All right, you guys. So I'm going to start talking about Mary first, right? So the episode really wasn't a whole lot. It was more so specifically Lisa, but I'm saving Lisa for last, right? For a specific reason. So we see Mary, and she is having lunch with Whitney and with Heather. And I was just looking at Mary like, girl, what the fuck you got on? You look like a hobo. So they asked, Mary, how did she feel about snow tubing? And she says, next time, take your kids. I'm like, hey, that one we agree on, because it looked fun, but I'm like, I don't like, see, the thing for me is I just don't like it being too cold. I just don't like that, right? So then they asked Mary about she and Lisa. She says, Lisa is Lisa. Now, I don't agree what Lisa did in this episode. We're going to talk about it a little later in the review, right? So they asked Mary, like, what was, because she said she blew up on Lisa, which she did. And they asked her, like, what was it about her doing that, right? So Mary said it's a trigger for her, and she started crying. And they were like, why is it a trigger for you? So then Mary starts to explain to us what happened between she and her mother, right? So, I didn't really understand the comparison. I'm gonna keep it real, guys. I didn't understand the comparison, but I knew what she was trying to say. So her and her mother, they haven't talked in 25 years, which is a long ass time. And from what she's saying, her mother doesn't want to talk to her, doesn't want to even try to talk to her. But I think she does talk to one of her siblings. That is sad. So I think in a nutshell, what Mary was trying to say was, because like I said, when she was saying it, I just didn't get what she was saying. But, she doesn't like people questioning her, right? Because when it has to do with Robert Sr. and Mary and Robert Sr., right? So I guess Mary and Robert Sr. or whoever might have felt it would be better for her to marry him, right? Because they felt like that might have been what was in God's will and his will for her to marry him. I'm gonna keep my opinions to myself on that one, but that's what kind of sparked this whole thing between Mary and her mother, is the fact that I guess her mother didn't want to listen to what she was saying, and the mother felt like because that was her mother, that oh girl, oh God, that just be the thing that blows me. I get her mother wanting the church and maybe whatever homes the grandmother had. I get that part. I do get that part, right? But the thing that I just don't get is it's Robert Sr. It's Robert Sr. Robert Sr. was married to your mother and Mary's mom's mother, and her grandmother. So y'all really were going back and forth about who was gonna get him. Honestly, I wouldn't want him, because you slept with my mother and her grandmother. Oh, nope. Let's move on. We're gonna pray for Mary. All right, guys. Let's talk about Whitney. Wasn't much with Whitney in this episode. So we see Whitney and her brother, who I actually thought was Justin for a minute, but they're out skating, and they have this skating club, but it's a 2-member skating club, right? So then they sit down, and Whitney asks her brother, has he talked to their father? He says, here and there, but here and there really ain't here and there, because he says he talks to him at least once a week. So I'm like, you talk to him pretty regularly then, huh? So Whitney lets us know that with her father, they haven't spoken in 6 months. And if you guys remember at the reunion last year, that she did say that she hadn't heard from her father. So last season reunion, I was wondering, I was like, I hope and pray that the man hasn't gotten back on drugs. So then Whitney explains a story about why she and her father are not talking. So the reason that she and her father are not talking is because her and Justin went out on a date one night, right? Left the kids at home. They ordered Uber Eats or some kind of takeout delivery for the kids, right? The delivery driver came, but he couldn't find the address because it was a new address. That happens a lot. I'd be like, damn. You guys know I do Uber Eats part-time, right? And that does happen to me in Dallas a lot, where I be driving and you put in the address on them in Google Maps or Apple Maps and it can't find it. I'm like, why can't it find it? And then you finally get there and you be like, oh, that's why. It's a new up and coming development and it's not populated yet, right? So the delivery driver got to their house, right? Now see, here's my thing. That delivery driver he had to be white. No offense to him. He had to be white because I wouldn't have dealt with no situation. I don't deal with shit like that, right? I don't deal with nothing like that. Because I actually had somebody who came at me sideways about a delivery once before. And I was like, you know what? I'm not about to argue with you. I just pick up the food. I delivered it to you. If you got an issue with whatever the company, if you got an issue with where you ordered the food from, reach out to them or to Uber, not me. I ain't got shit to do with that, right? I don't have anything to do with that. That ain't got nothing to do with me because some items were missing. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go through your bag and look for your food. Look at your food and see if they got everything in there. That's on them. Well, this is missing. Well, I paid for this. Now I said the cat. I'm just the vessel that delivered it to you. Don't come at me sideways. So yeah, the dad went off on the delivery driver, right? And Whitney and Justin told him that he had to go because they thought he might have been on something, which it does sound like that, right? Because a delivery driver, what are you going off on them for? That's very erratic. But like I said last season, prayers up to her dad. Let's move on. All right, guys. Next up, let's talk about Heather. So we see Heather, her daughter Ashley, and her daughter Ashley. They're out with Meredith and Chloe, her daughter. So this scene wasn't much either, so we'll probably breeze through this one. So Meredith is telling Heather that she has a house somewhere. I forgot where she said, right? So it was gonna be her, Seth, and the kids, right? But Seth is not going to be able to go because Seth has to work out in Mississippi. So she's going to turn this into a girls trip, so to speak, right? So Heather asked her about Jen. And, they're in a okay space, but she's not going to ask her. So Heather's going to ask her. Now, before that, they were discussing college, right? So Chloe is already in college. And, Ashley was just talking, they were talking about it, right? Chloe was telling her how with college, right? She liked the fact of going off to a school where she knew nobody, none of her friends were there, and she basically had a clean slate. So and I'm just saying this, don't take this is not about Chloe. Because we all have our little phases, right? If we had a whole phase in high school, you go to college, nobody knows you as the good time girl, the hoe, the good time boy, the party boy. Nobody knows who you were in high school. Nobody knows, or like on the show that I watch, Our Kind of People, how the young lady Nikki has a past, where she's fought people, right? If you go off to school, nobody knows the past, and I feel that way even when you graduate college and if you relocate to another place, another city, you start fresh. Nobody knows you, so nobody knows your past. So she talks about she wanted to be a Greek. It was so funny yesterday. So I did an Uber delivery to a Greek's a sorority house. It's at the SMU campus in Dallas, and I drove through it. I'm like, oh, this is Greeks. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Then I was looking. I'm like, I don't think these are the Divine Nine. I'm like, these cannot be. I'm like, I don't think these are black. No shade. No shade. I'm like, I don't think these. And some Caucasian people. I'm like, oh, okay, okay, nothing against it. Because I went to plays when I was in college, but I went to a predominantly white school, and we have fraternities there. But I want if I go to grad school, I'm gonna do one when I go to grad school, right? But undergrad, I'm like, I would love to, and they actually, because I had some friends that pledged, and they were like, why don't you pledge with us? I'm like, They were like, why? I'm like, it's not for me. And the reason why it wasn't for me is because I didn't see too many people that looked like me. But hey, we're gonna move on. All right, you guys. Next up, let's discuss Jen. It really wasn't much with Jen, so I can kind of breeze through Jen, and you guys know how I already feel about Jen. The one thing that I do think I found funny is the fact that her and Stu in the beginning part of the episode, they were working. All right, Jen. So Jen, I don't know who told you to go. Why did you have to come over there with these sex toys for Heather? Didn't make sense to me, but hey, Heather had fun with it, right? Cool, whatever. So then Heather asked, how does Jen feel about this trip that Meredith is planning? And Jen is cool with it, right? So then Jen brings up Heather. Heather brought this conversation that Whitney and Lisa had with each other, right? No. It was Jen that brought up the conversation. Jen started the conversation about when she met up with Lisa. We're gonna discuss it in just a few minutes. She met with Lisa. Lisa mentioned Whitney and her sending a gift to somebody. We're going to discuss that in a little bit, right? So Heather was like, so was she trying to basically throw Whitney on the bus, be like, is that a real friend of yours or something like that? So then Heather asked Jen, were you invited to this Fresh Wolf event that they're having? She says, no. She says, well, Meredith and Whitney were invited. And she was like, really? She was like, yep, they were invited. And what else? That's pretty much it. So the event was about, foster care, adoption, all that kind of stuff. And, Jen felt some type of way about it. I've been telling y'all Lisa was fake as fuck from the beginning. But y'all don't be listening to nobody. Y'all don't listen to people. Because I have been telling y'all I could see through Lisa's bullshit last season. I didn't like Lisa. I told y'all Lisa was full of shit. And we finna discuss Lisa and her full of shitness. Alright, guys. Lastly, Lisa. I knew something was off because we had like 1, 2, 3 different scenes of Lisa. I'm like, Lisa is the focal point of this episode. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we about to see the real Lisa. And lo and behold, we did. So we first saw Lisa and her sons. They're getting ready to plan this event for the boys, right? You guys know that the boys had their Fresh Wolf company, right? I don't really know what these boys know about grooming when they have no facial hair. Do they have any body hair besides the hair on their head? Like, I don't know what they know about that stuff, but okay, go off. Whatever, right? So what they want to do is they want to raise awareness for foster care, right? So we find out that John, Lisa's husband, was in a foster care system. He was given up right after birth. He had a family, but he was immediately returned. So I think she said he was in the foster care system for about a year, and then his family got him, right? So then we later saw them doing a photo shoot for the Fresh Wolf, right? So then Jen comes down with this wolf on her head. I'm like, oh God. Jen does anything just to steal a scene. Jen does anything to steal a scene. So Lisa asked Jen how are she and Heather. She says, you guys are very dysfunctional. Lisa, you're dysfunctional. So then they talk about, so if you guys don't know, because I actually saw this, I was on Twitter when it happened, right? So there was this leaked audio where Jen was, berating this employee of hers, and they recorded it. And Jen was saying some of the most foul and disgusting things to this person. Now, I don't know who leaked the audio. I don't really care who leaked the audio, right? But Jen went full Tasmanian devil on that person, and she went full Tasmanian devil in this scene. She went Tasmanian Jen in this scene, right? So then Lisa's like, yeah. And then I saw on social media that Whitney had sent him some gifts. Like, how could you do that? Like, what? Lisa was manipulating and leading people in this episode. Cause I'm like, so you gonna mention the fact that Whitney sent the man gifts? Like, what is that supposed to do? Is that supposed to question her loyalty or friendship? Like, I can send whoever I want to send a gift to. If I want to, like, I would never send. If Jen got into it with someone, I would never send them Vita tequila. Nobody wants that low shelf, that cheap ass vodka. Now I don't know if your vodka is cheap. I'm just coming at you sideways. It's just shade. Don't take it seriously. I don't know if your vodka is cheap or not, but girl, don't nobody want that cheap shit. I ain't never. Have you? Let me ask a question, and this is all seriousness, because I don't drink vodka, and that might be why I've never saw Vita. Have you ever saw Vita tequila in any of the liquor stores? Please let me know. I don't drink tequila. I don't like tequila. Well, yes, I do. That's vodka. I don't. Is that shit vodka or tequila? It's Vita tequila. Oh, I love tequila. I love tequila. I love me some tequila. But I've never saw Vita. Thought it was vodka. I thought that shit was vodka. But it's tequila. It's Vita tequila. Yeah. So me personally, I've never saw Vita tequila in any liquor store that I've been in. I've never saw it. Have you guys? So lastly, let's wrap up with Lisa. Lisa is manipulative and calculated. So Lisa, now see, I saw this black guy when he walked in. I'm like, wow, how odd that there's one black person here and his girlfriend or fiance. There are only two black people here. I'm like, that's really interesting. And I noticed that. I'm like, that's really interesting that there are only two black people here. And this has nothing to even do with the trailer. Because I saw him. I didn't realize that was him that was talking to Meredith. But I'm like, that was really odd that he's the only black person. Now, I'm not saying that Lisa doesn't have black friends. I'm just saying it was just odd that he was the only black person there. So Lisa is, here's what annoyed me, right? Lisa did this with the caterers. She had them, Whitney caught it. Whitney caught it at that point, and I caught it when she first mentioned Whitney in this episode, what Lisa was doing. Lisa is manipulating the fuck out of people at this. She's trying her hardest to manipulate people. So what happened was, her friend was talking about Jen in front of her, and talking about the fact that Jen got upset with her about the conversation that they had. But you brought it up. So that led Meredith to ask what happened. And she explained it to her. And I'm like, oh, Meredith, you do not see it, right? You don't see it. That your friend right here is manipulating the shit out of you, right? So then the black guy, Cameron is his name. He came up. Lisa introduced him to Meredith. Oh, this is my friend Meredith. You know, she's good friends with Mary, and she loves Mary. And you guys know, both of you guys know Mary, so you guys have that in common. I was like, what? Girl, So then Lisa slinked off like a snake, left them to talk. And, you know, I was like, oh, I see what you doing. You coming at everybody sideways, right? You've come at Whitney, and you coming at Mary now. Okay, because then he starts talking about Mary, you know, because she asked him how did he meet Mary. He tells her, right? So now he's talking about Mary's church. He was in the church for about 7 years, and the way he was talking, I was like, did he have and the way he was talking, I think he was intentionally doing this. The way he was talking, you would think that him and Mary had some kind of a sexual or romantic relationship with each other. But it was a total setup. He's talking about her and Robert Sr. have done hurtful things to people. I was like, oh, Lisa, you ain't shit. I really didn't like her for that one. But that's it, you guys. Let me know what you guys thought about the episode. Leave your comments, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell button so you guys are notified when I drop anything else. Share the video, and until the next one, you guys stay safe out there. Take care of yourselves. Remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, socially distance, be blessed, and I'm going to catch you guys later for Insecure. All right, you guys. So let's get into it.